Based on the findings of a 5-year study on murders, reducing this violent trend may very well take resuming the death penalty to punish the most violent offenders. It's felt that if a violent offender's punishment outweighed the crime he committed, he would be less likely to become a repeat offender. According to Superintendent Dr. Charles Wilhanna, the study is comprised of 7 key action points.
Number 1, punish the most violent criminal offenders. Number 2, stop illegal guns from entering the Bahamas. Number 3, the establishment of a DNA forensic laboratory. Number 4, dismantling criminal gangs. Number 5, dissuading youths from using drugs. Number 6, increase economic opportunities for at-risk youth. And number 7, increase educational achievement.
We welcome research, and hopefully research such as this would assist us in preparing ourselves in dealing with the crime issues in our countries. We recognize that we cannot do it alone, and it was very thoughtful, and we also accept the research as we partner with Dr. Hanna and the University of the Bahamas.
Efforts to reduce the murder count come in the face of 719 murders between the 5-year period of 2010 and 2015. Other tactics specified in relation to punishing the most violent offender are to establish a violent repeat offender program, the establishment of sentencing guidelines, new bail constraints for persons charged with murder, no remission for persons sentenced for murder or manslaughter, and expansion of the Swift Justice Program. Dr. Hanna further suggested that although some of the recommendations may raise eyebrows, presenting them provides a space for policymakers to take a fresh look at the national issue of crime. Well, a man was arraigned in magistrate's court today for the murder of Shanique Hart, which took place last week, Tuesday. Represented by attorney Nathan Smith, 20-year-old Godfrey McKinney of Johnson Alley stood before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. McKinney was also arraigned on 2 counts of attempted murder of Andrew Narinal and Absalom Stirrup. McKinney is scheduled to return to the magistrate's court on November 17th through the presentation of a voluntary bill of indictment. A group of pastors is calling for an all-out war on illegal guns. They're also pushing for authorities to consider certain proposals to curb the proliferation of these firearms. For instance, the group's convinced there should be a 30-day amnesty period during which people are encouraged to turn in illegal guns. This, of course, is not a new idea. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham adopted the same approach back in October 2011 amid grave national concern over the high level of violent crime in the country. Still, it's an idea that pastors are advancing, along with the advice that parents with any knowledge that the child has a gun should turn him or her in. Parents are further encouraged to refuse any and all benefits offered from their children involved in any criminal activity.
I think we should try every and anything that will cause us to put a curb in the death of young people. We had an infant, we had an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old. I'm saying let's try some new methods that will go directly to the criminals. And whatever we can do to curb this thing, we need to engage in it.
Doubling the penalty for those convicted of illegal gun possession has also made the list, as well as removing the discretion from magistrates who impose sentencing on those convicted of illegal firearms, denying bail for those convicted for such a crime a second time, and placing the act of importing guns illegally into the country on the level of treason.
Now, these things have legal implications, even constitutional implications, but the crises we now face calls for draconian measures. And we believe there were 5 pastors who sat and talked about it. We believe something needs to be done to send a stronger message to the criminals. The problem, my dear, is we have a problem with the authorities make these highfalutin pronouncements, and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Again, Bishop Simeon Hall is one of several pastors pushing for such changes. The others, Bishop Gregory Minnis, Bishop Victor Cooper, Pastor Charles Lewis, Dr. J. Carl Ramming, and Pastor Geoffrey Wood. Another night of campaigning for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador MP Philip Davis in his bid to stay on as leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. Addressing an Eastern Regional meeting in Fox Hill last night, Mr. Davis used his platform to lambaste the Minnis-led administration for delivering what he called hopelessness and terror. The PLP chief especially took aim at the National Security Minister in the face of increasing gun violence.
Where is Marvin Dings? Didn't he tell us leading up to the general elections that he has all the solutions? Where are these plans and ideas? Take it from me. He nor the FNM has any plan. I sent a challenge to the media anyway. I want them to take to the road as they go to find Minister for the Environment. I want them to go and find him. I want them to tell us where he is.
Now, having bashed the government, Mr. Davis sought to assure supporters that Team Brave is more than ready to reconnect the party following its stinging loss at the May 10th polls. The PLP managed to hold on to just 4 seats in the political showdown, and only one of those seats is here in New Providence. Even then, Prime Minister Perry Christie was booted out of office with the past behind them. Mr. Davis says he's looking to the future.
I am committed to ensuring that women and young people are active leaders and participants on our parliamentary team. I am no stranger to the PLP. I've always been your clean-up man. I've always been the fix-it man. Now I submit my application to become your leader. I know what it takes to bring people together. I know how to organize the PLP into a fighting political machine. I know what it takes to deliver victory for the PLP. You know of my sweat and toil for this organization. I assure you that I am ready for this job.
Mr. Davis promises that under his leadership, the days of the PLP operating as a tuck shop are over. The PLP heads into its convention next week. Now, in news on the business side of things, Exuma and Ragged Island Member of Parliament Chester Cooper today addressing the 10th annual Exuma Business Outlook. Mr. Cooper said while he attended the event many times prior, this was his first time as an MP. Under this year's theme, Breaking Barriers, Promoting Success, Mr. Cooper says over the recent years, while there has been noticeable growth over the years and interest from foreign direct investors, growth in the people of Exuma did not match up. The mini hospital there, he says, still needs to be fully opened and functional. There also lies a lack of fire equipment on the island, among several other issues. But Mr. Cooper says his plan for the island, dubbed E-Vision 2030, will seek to change all of this, and here's how. 1. Sustainable economic development, participation by the actual people of Exuma in entrepreneurship, and lastly but not least, the creation of a skilled labor force to tackle the needs of a growing economy. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.